Hi. So that was a great introduction. I could hear bits of it back there. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to be here and amongst all these fabulous women. As Kavya said, it's been over 3 decades since I started my journey, 35 years to be exact. That's quite a long time. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, and you're all MBA students here, so I guess LinkedIn is your go-to. It sounds like it's a stellar career journey, crafted with great intent, with every step planned out. And I think I can immodestly say I've been successful. It's my version of my success, and I feel really good about it. Everyone wants to be successful in their life journey. And success can be defined in many ways. It can be money, it can be power, it can be influence, it can be impact. You have a checklist which you kind of say, yeah, I've been successful. But what you put in that checklist, who's put it there? By whose definition are you successful? Is it your own definition? Someone next to you? Or worse, what your family has put down for you? What job did you get at placement? What's the salary that you're earning 5 years down the road? What car are you driving 10 years into your career? Are you flying business class while your peers are flying economy? Petty as it sounds, that's really how people measure success. It's always in relation to someone else. So it's logical that if you're aspiring to be someone else's definition of success, then you're going to be, it's their context, means it's their priorities that determine their success. So if you try to fit into it, it doesn't sit well. And so you're feeling a little unhappy. And when you're unhappy, you're really not a nice person to be around. You're really not a very good boss. Your team doesn't do very well. You don't achieve the outcomes that you really should be achieving. It's a vicious circle. So, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against success, and I really don't believe in compromise. I like money, I like influence, power, impact, I like it all. But what I've discovered is that I like it in measures that are enough for me. It may not be the trodden path, but it's my path, and it's my success. And it's crucial to understand this, particularly now when the world is just fraught with uncertainties. Change, it's a cliche, but change is the only constant. How we work is changing, how we live is changing, how we play is changing, how we learn is changing, how we think is changing. Organizations are changing as their businesses change. Employers' attitudes are changing about who they think is a good candidate and who they think it isn't. There was a time, I think, when I began my career, someone whose startup had failed and came to you for a job, you said, oh, this person didn't make it. But how the world has changed now. Someone who's actually failed in a startup and comes to you for a job, you say, hey, this guy's great. He's experienced risk, he's experienced failure, he's experienced business reality. So, going to be a good person to have in my corner. Layoffs is another thing that we're reading more and more about in this world which is changing, where what the jobs are, everything's transforming. So, but employers have also realized that it's not a personal shortcoming to be laid off. It's usually a function of a business reality. You'll be faced with many such situations where life comes at you with things which are not in your control. Think about something like COVID or Brexit or the Ukraine-Russia war or something. These are just not in your control. And they will alter your course. They will impact what you're doing. So just think about how you're going to respond to the situation and what your enough will be at that point, rather than going into someone else's way of doing things. Steady, consistent, linear. These are words that you just don't use in a career trajectory anymore. And when I look at my career, I don't think any of those words could apply to mine either, even though my LinkedIn profile sounds otherwise. I've had ups and downs and twists and turns. And finally, I realized, only when I realized that success on my terms is what works, is the only way I could steady my rocky boat and get through some pretty dark times. My first job out of campus had the singular distinction of being the lowest salary offered to anyone that year. But I was delighted. It was my dream job. It was in finance. It was in Delhi. It was a 5-day working week. Company was great. Fabulous brand. There were people who got 5 times the salary I got, but they didn't have Delhi and a 5-day working week as their decision-making criteria. So I was pretty happy, very successful. Job was going well, really well. I met my then husband at work, and he was flying high. I was doing pretty well too, but I was pretty low down on the totem pole of the organization. And he was much senior. He got an opportunity to move to the UK. We had a small baby by then, but he was going to be posted to London. I said, I'm going to quit my job and follow him there, and I'm going to live in London. Who doesn't want to live in London? So I chucked up the job and pushed off to London. In hindsight, I should have thought a little bit more about that. I should have thought about the consequences of just chucking it all and moving away. But wisdom comes with some experience and gray hair, and at that time I had none. But you know, this is a decision that will face women at some point in their life or the other. Nowadays, the question is even, should I marry or not? That's coming up. Should I, and then if I marry, should I have babies or not? I don't think the two correlate. You can have the babies without the marriage also now. And I don't think too many people are batting an eyelid. Okay, now I've got married. Who follows who? Whose career is more important? Or will we decide that both our dreams are important and we'll live separately and pursue each other's, our own path? Now, what's going to happen to maybe something about, what about your health? What about your parents? What about your children? I mean, there are just so many decisions that women have to take. And at that point, you've got to step back and decide what's enough for you. If your enough is that I've got to make it, I've got to have this career that doesn't have a single break in it, well, go for it. But if you think that you want that family, you want that experience of children, well, that's a choice that you make. And sometimes that transition works fantastically. But sometimes you do need to take a step back. And sometimes you have to decide that it's enough for you to take that step back. But if you think through it, then you can deal with the consequences. For me, I didn't. And so this whole thing of the choice became a very real problem, because I came face to face with it when I returned to India. By then we had spent 4 years traveling in the UK, working in Sri Lanka, following my husband around. I had 2 beautiful babies. I had spent lots of time with them. I had taken up part-time jobs in the UK and Sri Lanka just to be with them. And I thought, now I'm coming back home. I'm going to be on my home turf in India. I've got this beautiful, stellar background. Economics honors from Delhi University, MBA from IIM Calcutta, first job in Nestle India. I mean, worked in a war-torn country in corporate finance like Sri Lanka. I'm amazing. So I came back to India and decided to look for a job. The world thought very differently. I was told that I was unhireable. This was from a friend who was working in a leading headhunting firm. And when he used that word, it really hurt. 30 years later, it still rankles. That's the word that he used for me, that I was unhireable. He said, you don't fit into a slot. You've been jumping around everywhere, went to London, took a job, went to Sri Lanka, took a job, come in, in between. So it was all very messy. And I was shocked. I said, I don't fit into a slot. Doesn't it matter what capabilities I have? And this person actually knew me personally. So he knew what my intrinsic qualities were. And even then he made that statement. It was a shattering revelation. I actually thought that maybe something was wrong with me. I completely lost sight of the fact that I had taken a decision to actually be with my babies, to travel the world with my husband, a young couple. We were holidaying everywhere. We were having a great life, living in these different countries, setting up home, fantastic experience. Completely forgot about all that. I was measuring myself in other people's terms, my peers and where they were, and completely messing up my head because, after all, their context and their priorities were not mine. My husband decided to set up the entrepreneurial bug bit him, so he set up a business, and I decided to join him because I was having a bit of a problem in the job hunting space. So I became an entrepreneur. That's a whole different chapter I won't go into now. But 3 years into that journey, the company was all set up. And in true MBA style, we said the opportunity cost of both of us working in that one company was simply not worth it. One person could run that company, the other person can get a job. A startup is a difficult proposition, and that was not the time of VCs. So there were no millions of dollars coming our way. We were completely bootstrapped. So it would help to have a steady income. I went job hunting again. At this time, my entrepreneurial experience helped. So I got the job in a small training company with the designation of Chief Operating Officer. In my small aperture thinking, I said, chalo, at least the designation is okay, even the money is not. Because, I was patchy CV, not fitting into a slot, so it was a bit of a problem. My background is finance, and that's what I knew. And this was Chief Operating Officer, so finance, operations, but it's a startup. So as any of you who worked in startups or experienced startups, when you need to make a company grow, you just jump in and do whatever is necessary. And this was a training and development company. I did not know it then, but this was going to be the turning point for me. I was talking to large organizations, advising them about training solutions, and I was doing it by common sense. I didn't feel good about that. I felt I needed to understand this domain. So I got in there and started learning. I got certified as an executive coach. I got certified as a certified practitioner of learning and development. Even though I had stellar academic credentials, but they didn't relate to the domain I was working in, and I felt the need to do that. It's not enough to just work from the seat of your pants. You've got to understand what you're working on. You've got to invest in that learning. And today, when we have things like the Gen AI tsunami hitting us, and we have businesses that are completely transforming, we have jobs that are completely disappearing, it's all going to be about learn and adapt or perish. I learned about learning theories, motivational theories, competency frameworks, instructional design, facilitation skills, all of that. And there was a great side effect. Apart from just giving me confidence about who I was talking to, it made me the smartest person in the room. If you actually learn, you'll be surprised at the dividends it pays, because most people simply don't. They actually just try to wing it. Don't wing it. And you can't anymore because things are changing too fast. And this doesn't apply to just young people or mid-career professionals. This applies to leaders too. Every leader is experiencing a transformation of their business. They may not understand how that algorithm works. They may not need to write that code. But if they don't understand the principles behind it, they can't guide their teams. They can't ask the right questions. And teams love it when their leaders ask the right questions, because it gets them to push themselves a little bit more, achieve things that they didn't think they could. And who doesn't like that? So I think this was the time that it just sunk into me that this is what I love doing. I was feeling good about what I was doing. I was enjoying the reaction of the clients I was working with. I was loving the impact that I was making. And this turning theory into practice was a high completely on its own. It helped that the founder of this company, who was, by the way, 11 years younger to me, he was a brilliant guy, really fun to be with. Work was a series of laughs. So it was actually fun to be at work. So good that our little company came to be known for the work that we were doing in the whole soft skills and communication skills space, and we got acquired by one of India's largest training companies. After a long series of serendipitous moves that had supposedly no logic to them, I was in a conventional job role, in a conventional organization, in a large structured framework. I got the little company embedded into the larger organization, and I think because of all the work I had done, the expertise that I had, I became CEO of one of their joint ventures. Great. Finally got to the CEO designation in my career trajectory, but it came with a caveat. The company I got to run, huge accumulated losses, a business strategy that was totally shot. So I had to think about how to wipe out those losses, restructure the organization, relook at the business strategy, deal with a highly emotionally charged workforce because about 40% of them had been let go to right-size the organization, and at the same time keep the lights on, keep the business running, and make sure that I was earning my keep. Really hard work. I learned about stakeholder management. I had a board. I had a joint venture partner who was pretty unhappy because the joint venture was losing money and they thought we were not doing our part, we thought they were not doing their part. Typical. No books came to my rescue on this one, but I just watched and learned. I had no idea about handling a board, but I would sit in the board meeting very importantly and sort of follow, just copy what I had seen in other meetings. But very useful, the lessons that I got at that time. 3 years of this, I reached a point where I did manage to wipe out the losses, but it was a slog. And I was tired, and I wanted to do something different. I said, I've been in this India market too long. I need to expand my horizons. I need to go international. So I made a request to the company, said, put me into some job that's international. They say, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. I got it. I got that international role. Worked with some super companies on some super projects, but you know what? Life is not just about a career trajectory, it's also about life. Life was going on in parallel, and how? A few years ago, I had got divorced. Some years on, I had met a wonderful person and I was in a relationship with that person. About the time that I was transitioning from one job to the other, I was diagnosed with cancer. Cancer is really tough. It physically, emotionally, first when you get to know that you have it, and then when you have to go through the entire surgery, chemo, radiation, rehab, I mean, it's tough. But I experienced this positive energy that I got from all my friends and family that I had around me. Maybe it was because I decided to treat it as a problem. The doctor said there was a solution. I said, okay, there's a solution. I have to go through this 18 months to 2 years and then I'll be fine. I think that kind of rubbed off on the people who were around me. And so I didn't get that gloom and doom that you normally get when you get bad news, and that's what people are sharing with you. So all this positive energy, which meant that I could actually work through the entire period of my treatment. I didn't take any time off. The thing was, why take time off now? I'm unwell, I can't do anything, might as well work. And distract myself, and that really helped. I think everyone's mood was okay, my mood was okay, and things were good. I was actually doing well at work in spite of this. So much so that a lot of people in my office didn't even realize that I was going through chemotherapy. I'd lost my hair, I was wearing a wig, they didn't make out. Just shows you how much people actually see you. That actually suited me just fine because I could go on life as normal. But an international job has a problem. If you're doing well, what will happen? You'll need to go closer to your customer. You'll need to, well, be international, which meant that you need to go overseas. Now, if 3 years ago they had said go overseas, I might have said okay. But by now, life was looking very different. I had been through this whole health crisis, which really brought home to me the power of friends, of family, of being surrounded by this cocoon of love and belonging, without which I don't think I would have sailed through what I did. My relationship was going well, and a middle-aged romance needs a lot more nurturing and investment than a young one. I just didn't want to go. So I had another decision that faced me. Quite a career-limiting move to say I don't want to go when your job needs you to go. So I took a decision to quit. It was 2016 and I was only 50. So not really the best time to quit because I was pretty much at the peak of what I was doing. But by now, more gray had come. And I'd realized that I need to know what's enough for me. I need to know what's right for me. I should not be measuring my success and my career moves in relation to someone else. I need to do what works for me. And so I did quit. And one of the big reasons was to say, while I was ill, I worked all through. Now I'm perfectly fine. Now let me go and do all the things that I couldn't do when I was going through my treatment. So I had a whole lot of stuff planned out. I had an 18-month sabbatical of very interesting, having a lot of fun in catching up with all those things that I hadn't done, until a chance encounter with an ex-colleague brought up the discussion about NASSCOM. He said, "Chal desh badal dalte hain." How's that for an elevator pitch? Perfect, isn't it? If anyone tells you, "Chal desh badal dalte hain," are you going to say no? I said, "Bata kaise?" And that was the time when this whole, the digital technologies, all this AI, blockchain, data, cybersecurity, data analytics, cybersecurity, all the cloud computing, all that was coming up, and the IT industry was just waking up to the fact that this is going to really change everything for us. So we need to create an industry response on how to deal with the changing skill set, the changing job definitions that are going to come up when this disruption hits us, because everybody's business model is going to change. What I got to do was a project that was going to focus on only the skills required for these digital technologies. I was to build a platform which the IT industry could use to skill themselves up. I knew nothing about tech and I knew nothing about platforms. So I needed to learn yet again. I didn't need to be a techie, but I needed to know how will this technology affect the industry, which will affect India, because the IT industry contributes 35% of our exports. It's a really important industry. So it's a really important question to answer, because if we can't look ahead on how we need to prepare, how will India retain its pride of place in the world? Great job description. Really hard work, because NASSCOM is neither a tech company, NASSCOM is neither an ed tech company. I knew nothing about ed tech. I knew something about learning and development there. Yes, I did. I knew about dealing with the tech industry because they were my clients in previous jobs, but that's about it. So books, conferences, talking to leaders, research reports, they were my best friends to form a point of view on what's really going to happen in the future. I think that investment in getting to understand defined my next version of my success, which said, I am in the room, in the room where policy is being discussed. I am in the room where firsthand people are discussing the challenges and they are listening to me about the solutions that can be offered. At the same time, we also were asked by the government to create the Future Skills Prime project. I don't know if any of you have heard about that. That's the national technology skilling platform. I think being the architect of that platform, getting it off the ground, running it and getting it to where it is today has been the thrill of a lifetime. Now, you may say, was it luck that landed me in NASSCOM at the time it did, when this whole talk of disruption and technology and change was coming our way? Or was it something I did? I like to believe it's something I did. All the investment that I had made in the years leading up to this position created a solid foundation on which I could build for this new job role. Now, this thrill is what makes me feel that my career was a success. So much goes into a life, doesn't it? It's about your economic situation, your parents' health, your partner, your spouse's career, natural calamities, business changes. I mean, so many things go in. They will all impact you and they'll all alter your course. Life will keep throwing curveballs your way. How you react to those curveballs is really what will determine whether you think you're a success or not. Don't let other people define it. I think the caveat is just do the best you can in whatever it is you're doing. Set your own benchmarks. Congratulate yourself when you achieve those benchmarks. Co-opt your cheerleaders to celebrate those benchmarks with you, the achievement of those benchmarks with you. It will get rid of many of the anxious moments that all this uncertainty is bringing your way, because you will be celebrating your own victories. It's 3 decades later now, and I've decided to hang up my boots. Everyone around me is saying, why? Things are going so well. The platform that we created is wonderful. We have 2 million learners on the platform. It's respected everywhere. Every minister is talking about it. Hey, the Prime Minister is talking about it. Why now? The hottest topic in every boardroom and policy room is about how we will skill and upskill for the digital future, and how will India retain its position. But it's been 6 years of total immersion where I've had to say no to many things. Special occasions, holidays, time with family, time with parents. So when someone asks me, what are you going to do now on your last day, which is on September 16th, I said, I'm going to say yes. Thank you.